Well, a pleasant good morning, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of the PR Man and the Coach Talking Ball on the BallFather podcast presented by Sportskeeda. I'm Reggie Roberts, your host, longtime sports observer, former NFL communications executive for 30 years. And I'm joined by my good friend, NHL analyst, Tampa Bay Rays analyst, all-around good guy, JP Peterson. What's up, big dog?
What's up, Reg? How you doing, brother? It's been a busy day in Tampa Bay yesterday. I tell you what, we had a little history in the making.
Now my team got their heads beat in last night. I continue to rock the hat, but I tell you what now, it's exciting for all of my friends who live in town. I got a ton of friends, as you know, in Tampa, in the Tampa Bay area, St. Peterson. And I'm excited for their baseball team. They're playing great. And, everybody's trying to pour cold water on the fact that, well, they beat up on a bunch of people who are in last place. Let me tell you something. I don't care if it's marbles, stickball, but it's 13-0 is 13-0, and they're playing great. They're hitting the ball out of the yard. They're pitching great. I mean, talk about how great they're playing and what's going on with the Rays.
Well, I was at the game yesterday as a fan. We just decided to head on over there right after our show because it's not far from where our studio is. And it was amazing. 21,000 plus in an afternoon game on a Thursday for the Rays, and school's not out yet. That's amazing. That is amazing. They're averaging almost 18,000 a game, which may not sound like a lot to a lot of folks, but in the annals of Rays baseball, especially with the teams that they've had come in, not very big draws except for maybe the Red Sox. It's been amazing, and they're doing everything right. Even yesterday, Manuel Margot comes in to pinch hit and lays down a 2-out bases loaded bunt and gets on and perfectly executed. Next guy up, Harold Ramirez, clears the bases with a double. They score 7 when they were down 3-1. Their starting pitcher had to leave in the fourth inning because of or third inning because of a nerve issue in his arm, but he's going to be okay. I mean, even when things go wrong for this team, they've showed, and there hadn't been many, I think they've only trailed in 5 innings the entire year, which is ridiculous. Trailed at the end of 5 innings in 13 games in the major leagues. That's just, there's so many stupid stats to this streak, but that's one that just blows my mind. And they come right back and with big hit after big hit. Everybody in the lineup is contributing, from Luke Raley to Josh Lowe to future superstar Wander Franco, Randy Arozarena, of course, who took the world by storm in the World Baseball Classic. And by the way, the Rays had the most players to play in the World Baseball Classic, so I think that's a big part of this. These guys were ready to go. They've already played in pressure-packed, big games. The blood's already flowing. So I think that has helped them to get into kind of midseason form. Their pitching, literally, they've scored more runs than anybody in baseball, hit more home runs than anybody in baseball by far. They've got the best pitching staff, the lowest ERA in baseball. They're not only winning 13 in a row, they're winning by an average score of over 6 runs a game. 6 runs a game, bro. None of this stuff has ever been done in the history of baseball. So, yes, the competition has been less than stellar, but they are drubbing the competition. It's not even close.
Yeah, hey, it's not their fault that the schedule makers schedule whoever they schedule. They got nothing to do with it. They're doing their job. Their job is to go out there and win games, and they're doing it in convincing fashion. So it seems like everybody's hitting. Brandon Lowe's hitting the ball out of the yard. Rosarena's hitting the ball out of the yard. I mean, they're getting contribution from everybody in the up and down the lineup, and the pitching has been really, really sick. Especially, who's the tall left-handed guy that can throw it from everywhere? What's his name? The left-handed guy.
Well, Jeffrey Springs, who was pitching yesterday, kind of injured himself. They've got Jalen Beeks. They've got and they're working without Tyler Glass now, who's probably their best pitcher. He's not even going to pitch until probably late May. So and they lost Zach Eflin as well. He's on. None of these injuries are thought to be serious, but they bring up a kid on was it Wednesday, Taj Bradley. They fly him in from Durham 24 hours before the game. His mom drives down from Georgia, from Atlanta, on her birthday to see him pitch. He's 22 years old. He's got this baby face. He looks like your 12-year-old paper boy. He jumps up on the hill and starts throwing 97 curveballs that look like John Smoltz dropping off the table curveballs, totally in command. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches. How they go out and find these pitchers, and they drafted him in the 5th round. How they find these pitchers and develop them. A lot of them are cast-offs from other teams where they get into their analytics, their spin rate. This guy's got the 97th percentile slider spin rate, and then they make him throw that slider about 90% of the time from different arm angles. It's a whole new approach to pitching. Everything the Rays do is always next level. And you knew with the new rules, the Rays were going to be able to take advantage of it. And so what did they do? They got rid of most of their slower guys, get the most athletic team they can out there, so they can take advantage of being, in an outfield where you can't shift anymore, and an infield where you can't shift anymore. You got to have guys that have range, right? So all of their defensive players have excessive range. They're all athletic. They all can run the bases, bigger bases, more stealing. Take advantage of that rule. Their pitchers have always worked quick, so this is nothing new to them with the pitch clock. So they've taken advantage of the rules, soft schedule. Everybody's playing at an elite level. And the one thing that I think is interesting is none of these guys are doing anything that's just completely out of their realm, right? Wander Franco's hitting well over 300, multiple. I think he's got 12 extra base hits. But we expected this from this guy. He's going to be a superstar.
He's a star.
These guys are not doing anything that's ridiculously out of their norm. So that tells me that it's somewhat sustainable. No, they're not going to win every game, obviously. They're going to have bad streaks. But these guys, they brought Josh Lowe up last year because they knew he had great power, but he just mentally wasn't ready. He's tweaked his swing a little bit, and now he's much more mature and ready to handle the major leagues. Look what he's doing. Randy Arozarena. I mean, all these guys, we've seen Randy Arozarena carry a team in the postseason a couple of years ago to the World Series with his 10 home runs. He can play this way. We saw it in the World Baseball Classic. So, Brandon Lau is another guy. He's hit 39 home runs in a row in a year before. So it's not out of the realm that he would hit 5 home runs in 6 games. So none of this stuff is just crazy out of the box for these players. They're all really good players that are just playing really well right now at the same time. So it's historic, 13 in a row, ties the major league record. Tonight they'll try to break it against Toronto.
Did I read someplace where the owner did something, discounted some tickets to get people in the building? Did I read that somewhere?
Yeah, it's a great story. So your audience doesn't know is that the owner and I don't really see eye to eye. I've been very hard on him in the media because I've kind of.
AP's been tough on an owner.
Yeah. Well, I'm one of the few people in the media here who will point out that, maybe he's making a lot of money when he said he's not making a lot of money. We'll just leave it at that. And I don't think he's really been truthful with the constituency in terms of this new stadium that they've been trying to build for a long time. A lot of shady dealings. He's being sued by his partners for fraud. We don't need to get into all that, but I actually saw him at the game yesterday, Stu Sternberg.
Wow.
And I know Stu. We've had coffee before down in Havana when the Rays were in Havana. And he's, personally, I like him. He's a great dude. I just don't like the way he runs a franchise in terms of the business. Obviously, the baseball side, they've got that down. But in terms of the business. And I saw him, and we bought the $10 tickets, me and my co-host. Right during our show, we said, you know what, let's just go to the game. So we went online and got the $10 tickets. And that's why the place was packed, 21,000. Last year, the cheapest ticket for a lot of these Red Sox games was a $70 outfield ticket. Nobody's buying a $70 outfield ticket.
Nobody's doing that during the week. Nobody's doing that.
Oh, so they brought in a new marketing guy, and maybe I think Major League Baseball has told him to start marketing his team better. And I think there's some outside pressure to do that. So they brought $10 tickets in. There's a $50 a month ballpark pass that you can buy for unlimited games. They've cut prices at concession stands. They've done a ton of stuff. They're running their marketing department like the Lightning do, and that's because they hired a guy from the Lightning. And I think maybe even Major League Baseball has a little something to say about it. But whatever, the place was packed, and I said, Stu, Hey, thanks for the $10 tickets, pal. Great crowd today. Congratulations. And he shook my hand. He said, thanks for coming. So it's but the owner is they still have a $69 million payroll, which is ridiculous, ridiculously low, but they're getting it done, and you can't complain about what's on the field.
Well, it's exciting to see because, like I said, it's, anytime anybody just kind of jumps out to a really a great start like that, it's good for the baseball. It's good for the game. It's good for the market. Like I said, I love the Tampa Bay area. We lived there for off and on 12, 13 years. I like the area.
Yeah.
I can see Kevin Cash, by all accounts, is a really, really good guy. And this is coming from a guy who, as you well know, I'm a huge Yankees fan. I bleed Yankee blue and white, bleed pinstripes. But I'm excited for them. I'm excited for them because it'll make the race more exciting. Toronto's got a good team. Boston hopefully will figure out Baltimore's playing better in the East. So that race, the race will be really, really good. Let's switch to the Lightning. My girl and I were over in Tampa. We went over to the Amalie Arena to see the Bolts play the Maple Leafs. It's obvious those two teams don't like each other very much.
No, they do not. And last year's, if you recall last year's 7-game series, it was one for the ages, man. It was Toronto got out to a lead. It got out in the first game. The Bolts came back. It was one of the most entertaining up and down the ice. Great goaltending, great scoring, great skill. And the Lightning came back and won it in 7 games up there in Toronto, and of course went on to the final. Toronto has not won a first-round series since 2004. That's when my daughter was born. She's 20 years old. I'm taking her to the Taylor Swift concert tonight. We've been to 10 Taylor Swift concerts since the Maple Leafs have won a first-round series.
We'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that. We'll get to the Taylor Swift in a second. But since 2004, they've not won a first-round series. What?
It's unbelievable. The Lightning have been, their nemesis certainly recently in the playoffs. So what did Toronto do? They went out and they beefed up their team at the deadline. They got 6 new starters: Ryan O'Reilly from St. Louis, Achari. Luke Shen, a former Lightning defenseman that won the cup with. So they made all these changes to beat the Lightning because that's what the Lightning did. Remember, the Lightning were the finesse team, the high-scoring team up and down the ice, and they won the President's Trophy, right, Boston? And then what happened? They got swept in the first round by Columbus, swept by the 8th team. So that President's Trophy, you can have it, means nothing in the playoffs. But so the Lightning had to make a decision, and Julien Brisebois, taking over for Steve Yzerman, said, we got to get bigger, we got to get stronger, we got to get grittier for the playoffs. You can have a regular season team that can fly all around the ice and do that thing, but when they swallow the whistles in the postseason, you better have a rugged team that can stand up and be heavy enough to take the pounding, the after whistle, face washes and cross checks and all that stuff. And the Lightning transformed their team and got a better mix and won 2 cups and went to another final. So now Toronto and Florida are trying to follow the same template. And I think that's what's going to make this playoff really, really interesting. Now, Toronto has, in the series this year, they beat them 2-1. The games have been pretty even for the most part, slight edge to Toronto. But, they're almost mirror images. As of 2 games ago, they had both scored 275 goals this season. So their offenses are very similar. Defensively, I think Toronto's metrics are a little bit better. The Lightning have been a little loose defensively this year. There's no question about that. But to me, the difference is in net, right? Samsonov is 1-6 in the playoffs. Vasilevsky owns the playoffs, right? 2 cups. Has 6 shutouts in series clinching games. Nobody's ever done that, and Vasilevsky has been phenomenal in the playoffs. Now, he's not been as good this year. The numbers are down, but when they've needed him, when they have 4-game losing streaks, 5 games losing streak, he comes back and he locks in, and then had 2 shutouts in 3 games and gave up 1 goal in 3 games. That got him into the playoffs, locked them in. And since then, they've taken the foot off the gas pedal. But to me, this is an extremely even series. I think Toronto may be the better 5-on-5 team. Both teams have excellent power plays. Although last year the Bolts shut down Toronto's power play, held them to 4 up for 26 in the series, which was well below about 10 points below their season average. So the penalty kill is going to be huge for the Lightning. And your best penalty killer is who? Your goalie, Vasilevsky. So I think that's key as well. So very even series, tough to call. Toronto will have the home ice advantage. That hasn't meant much, really. The Lightning actually like to go on the road for the first 2 games. They feel like they get more focused. They don't have to deal with tickets. They don't have to deal with family. They huddle up. They go in. Toronto's got a lot of pressure on them, right? The media there is crushing, and they're all asking the same questions, right? 2004. It's been 2004. 2000. They get all the questions, so they're going to hopefully be gripping their sticks a little bit. So the Lightning just want to go in there and steal one, and come back and take care of business at home.
That'd be good. It was so much fun to be there. My girl and I were sitting there, and my girl I think was a little shocked with regards to all the fighting. I mean, she every 3 or 4 minutes there was guys were dropping the gloves and they were going at it. And then she said we're talking. She goes, well, it hurts the team. They got an advantage. They've got one more guy than we got. And it was really exciting to see. I've always had a lot of respect for guys who play hockey. But I tell you what,
right?
The physicality of that game. I don't think the average person, if you don't follow hockey like you do, and I didn't grow up in a place where they played hockey.
Right.
But when I worked in New York, I used to go to the Rangers games a bunch. When I worked in New York, if you don't really to see it live and to see how physical it is, it's incredible. It really is incredible, and how fast it is.
And the Stanley Cup playoffs, and that's why they say it's the toughest trophy in sports to win. And I've been in these dressing rooms after these Stanley Cup games, and guys have pieces of ear hanging off. I'm not joking. This is not hyperbole. Pieces of their lip cut. Blood coming out one nostril, freshly stitched face across here, and then 2 nights later they got to go out and do it again, and then they got to do it for 4 series for 2 months back to back. I mean, not back, but almost every other night, play like a football game on ice. I've seen Marty St. Louis take off his skate, and his big toe is about that big. And they'd have to drain that thing every game, stick a needle in there, a horse needle, drain that thing just so we could put his skate on. And he would do that every other night to win it. It's insane. It's insane what these guys do to play in the playoffs.
It's interesting. It's in the same thing. But I remember when I was working in Atlanta. Roddy White, who might have been one of the toughest guys that I'd ever seen, just toughest else. There'd be some games where they have 12 catches, 158 yards, 3 scores, and he always would tell me, he'd say, "Listen, tell the media I'm coming," and they'd always he was a really, really good media guy, and so I'd go in there and he'd be the last guy to take his pads off. He'd need help taking his pads off, and he'd sit in we had these things where you sit in. It's like a suit where you ice your body down really, really quick. He'd do that before he go get dressed and talk to me. And then you'd see him the next day. JP couldn't even walk, so he didn't practice. He didn't practice Monday. They were off Tuesday. He was in there getting treatment on Tuesday. Didn't practice on Wednesday. Didn't practice on Thursday. But on Friday, it was almost like Superman. He'd show up, be out there running one-handed catch. He talked to the media afterwards, and he said, "Reg, tell them all. I'll be there Sunday." He goes, "I don't miss games." And you talked about, and so you look at him on Sunday, you say, "There's no way this guy's playing. No way he's playing." But he he always figured out a way to get there, to get back on. And he might have been one of the toughest guys that I've ever seen. It sounds like St. Louis with the toe today.
This guy's mentality. Ronde Barber was the same way. Unbelievable. He never missed a game. 215 straight games. Played 1 year with a torn MCL.
We got you garbled there. You on your audio, you're kind of garbled there a second ago. Let me see.
Saying Ronde Barber was the same way. I got it clear now. We'll be back.
V, we're still a little bit garbled. What do you think we need to do, V? Hello, V. Yup. V. Oh,
Maybe we lost him too.
no, I think not. That just now it cleared up.
All right, yeah, it's probably, I don't know what it is.
All right,
probably
well,
gets in now.
Okay, but go ahead. I mean, yeah, Rodney Barber was a tough guy. You know, played on how many games? How many consecutive games?
215 consecutive games he played in with torn MCLs. I mean, some guys, as you know, Reggie, some guys just decide, I'm going to play. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to go out there and play. And some guys are just like, nah, I can't do it. It's just a mentality. I mean, obviously, you get a broken leg, you got a broken leg, but there's just some guys that just figure it out. Hey, on that when that famous play when he picked off Donovan McNabb for the pick six that sent the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl in 2002, he ran down. Look at him limping down the field. He's running with a torn MCL, and so that's the way he played. It's just the way he played. Some guys can do that stuff.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, you know, it's going to be interesting. You know, I'll be watching that Tampa Bay Toronto series. When's that series start?
I believe Tuesday. I believe they're playing Tuesday, Thursday. I'm not sure if the schedule's been announced just yet, but probably Tuesday, Thursday. It's going to be. It's so many good series, man. I love all the matchups in the East are just, you know, unbelievable. We're going to see so much good hockey. You know, the Bruins, Panthers. Watch out for the Panthers. They've been playing better. And the Bruins, you know, Bruins goalies are untested in the playoffs. Well, they're a phenomenal team. It's, you know, we saw St. Louis do it a few years ago, come from the 8th seed and win the cup. So it's going to be fun.
Let's talk about the Bruins a little bit because I like I said, I've been doing a little research, and again, I admit that I don't follow hockey as closely as you do, since it's very, very important to you and how you take care of yourself and stuff. But I don't follow this closely. But I tell you what, I'm always aware of teams who play well. I mean, you know, 65 wins. They set the record a couple of nights ago when they, you know, with 63 wins, set the franchise record for wins, or the league record, what have you. And the story that I read that says they put a lot of pressure on you, they're relentless offensively, and they just beat you down. Is that close to being? And then I saw this other columnist, Miss Blogger, some guy in Boston saying, "Well, it doesn't even matter. It's just give the cup to the Bruins because they're playing. They're so dominant. They're the most dominant team in the NHL this year." What say you about that? So you know, we're talking about the Bruins, who are arguably they have the best record in the NHL. I was reading about, you know, how physical they play and how tough they play, and then I saw something about somebody out of Boston saying, you know, we shouldn't even have the playoffs because they're playing so well. Tell me a little bit about what that is and how they're playing. But as you mentioned, they do remain untested in the playoffs.
Listen, they're a phenomenal team. You don't get to 65, 66 wins, break all the records without being a phenomenal team. But look, the President's Trophy is what it is. You know, it's historically been an albatross for these teams. We've only had two win the Stanley Cup in the last 20 years. Chicago did it. One other escapes my mind. It's tough. It's just tough to do. It's the toughest trophy to win, and the teams are so even in the playoffs that seeding doesn't mean much. You know, but I still think Boston is the favorite with that line of Bergeron and Pastrnak. They've mixed them up a little bit, but they're, you know, and with the new coach this year, obviously Bruce Cassidy's doing great in Vegas, but I think they've become more aggressive offensively, and your best defense is what? A great offense. You know, keep the other team on defense. They cannot score. Their puck handling, the way they possess the puck, and then you add in their dangerous scorers. They've got they're solid. They've got grit. And the only thing they don't have is proven playoff goaltending. Ullmark is not. I think he's 1-4 historically in the playoffs. So, but he's played tremendously well this year. I mean,
yeah.
It's just, you know, whatever it is in the NHL playoffs that just, you know, some guys, because it's ramped up, right? It's like a lot like the NBA. It's two different sports. Regular season and postseason are two different sports, and you have to adjust to the ruggedness, the intensity level, and then you got to bring it every single night. Do you have a core of guys that can do that? Do you have a goaltender that can stay that mentally focused under that kind of pressure for that length of time? And I was talking with Brian Engblom, my partner on the postgame show for the Lightning last night. He won 2 cups in Montreal, and I asked him that question, and he said, no, it's just different. And some guys shrink in the moment. They just do. And some guys, and you know it, Like guys in the dressing room knowing, like, that guy just
Can't
ain't
do
got
it.
it. That guy ain't got it, or that guy's got it. That guy's got it. It's just different. And you don't know until you see them do it in the playoffs. So I think it's a big we'll see. But look, I'm not handing the trophy to Boston, but there's no question they're the favorite.
Well, it's going to be a really good playoff. I think you're right. And I think, just as you mentioned earlier, Florida's playing very well. They play out there near they play that, they got those little stadium way out there where a lot of families go down in South Florida, but they're playing better. They're playing a lot better.
They've had a weird season, right? They brought in Matthew Tkachuk, got rid of some of their smaller guys. Like I said, trying to follow the Lightning's template, get a little grittier. You got the scoring, but you got to get a little bit of sandpaper in your game. And I think that, and Florida went through, they played terrible for stretches this year, but I think they've found something in this latter part of the season, forced their way into the playoffs now, and I think they've got some momentum. But we'll see. We'll see how they play. This is what they built their team for, the postseason, not the regular season. So let's see how they fare in the postseason. I don't think it's going to be as easy as many think in the first round.
Listen, we're going to get you out here because I know you got to go do your own show. But thank you. And again, thank you so very much for taking time to join us.
Absolutely. Love it.
Real quick, Taylor Swift, huh? 68,000.
I had the Rays win 13 in a row yesterday, Major League history. Then I go work the Lightning game last night and watch Braden Point get his 50th goal and 51st goal. First or third Lightning player to ever do that. Now we get a little bit of Taylor Swift tonight with my daughter. We've seen every show that she's ever done in Tampa. So that's kind of our thing. There'll be 65,000 at Raymond James Stadium and another 15,000 across the street at the Yankee spring training, where they're showing a video of the concert, and they sold tickets and they're going to pack that place as well. It's insane. Yeah. They're I didn't even know this, but yeah, they sold tickets to the stadium, the baseball stadium across the street, and they're playing the video of the concert over there. So crazy. And I think she's doing a limited number of dates, and the ticket sales are $600 million. $600 million for one tour.
What? $600 million?
Now, it probably costs her $200 million for the set alone, travel around, whatever. But still, man, I'm looking forward to the show. I'm a closet Swiftie. It's my thing with my little girl. I taught her how to play guitar, and now she's at Belmont in Tennessee at a great music school. So it's a great thing.
That'll be a really good time. Look, have an amazing time with your little girl. Always great to catch up with you. You provide so much insight about what's going on in Tampa, in the Tampa sports scene, and we appreciate you. We'll talk to you next week, big dog.
Love it, man. Anytime, Reg. Always fun to come on with you.
I appreciate it. Have a great day, man. Thank you.
Thanks, bud.